What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Bearded Cook. I'm Marcus Hilt. Today we are doing the king of all barbecue meats. We are doing a brisket on a big green egg. Let's get started. All right, so let's get started. This is a 8-pound brisket flat. I just went up to my local Costco, grabbed it. It wasn't too expensive. It was about 42 bucks. This is actually really good. We got a good fat cap on the back side. You want that fat cap to protect the meat as it cooks. But we are going to go ahead and get started. We are going to inject this brisket today. We are going to use this LC Barbecue Angry Bull. I've never used it before, but I hear a lot of good things about it, so that's what we're going to use today. So we got our injection here. I used about a half a cup and about 2 cups of water. So you get your injection needle. You can find these on Amazon. I'll provide a link down there below. And you're going to start here. Now, everything in barbecue, as Harry Sue likes to say, he's a pit master. I'll include his channel down there at the bottom, is a 3-hour argument and a Jerry Springer fist fight. Some people say you're supposed to inject with the grain. Some say against it. I'm not sure if it matters. I always go against the grain. So what you want to do, you want to start maybe about 2 inches in, inject your needle, making sure not to go too far so you don't puncture the fat cap. And you're going to inject. Don't do that. A little bit deeper, and you're going to push. Now, one thing about injecting is you cannot over inject the brisket. Whatever the brisket can't hold, it will push out on its own. So somebody's probably asking, why are you injecting a brisket? This is a brisket flat. Brisket flats do not have a lot of marbling in them. The marbling being fat content. So sometimes they can dry out on you, and nobody wants dry meat. So a lot of times I will inject the brisket flat. It just adds a little bit extra flavor, and these injections have ingredients in them that help retain moisture so that your brisket does not dry out. Does it need it? No, it does not. Does it help? In my opinion, yes, it does. If you don't have a commercially made brisket injection, you can try like just beef stock or something like that. A little bit of added seasonings to help. That always works. So what I'm doing is just working in a grid pattern. Every inch, I'm injecting, moving over an inch, injecting, moving over an inch, injecting. Now, a lot of people don't actually know what a brisket is. They just know it tastes good. A brisket is actually the pec muscles of a cow. It's the chest muscles of a cow, and it is a really tough meat to cook because it is tough to begin with because it gets a lot of work. The cow is what the cow uses to stand up and walk and move around. So it can be tough. So if you don't cook it the right way, you can be left with a very tough piece of meat. But like I said, this is a brisket flat. Brisket, a whole packer brisket, is comprised of a flat and a point. The point being the fattier part of the brisket, the flat being the lean. If you ever go to a barbecue restaurant, they're gonna ask you, do you want lean or fatty? This is the lean part of it. So we're gonna work our way down. Don't worry about if it leaks out. Like I said, the brisket can only hold so much. Whatever it can't hold, it will push it out. So normally when I cook briskets, I do a low and slow cook, which basically means about between two. Y'all seen that? Brisket squirted. So normally I go between 225 and 250 when I cook brisket. Because of time constraints today, I'm actually going to be doing what's called a hot and fast cook, which means we're going to be operating in the 350 to 375 range. Instead of this thing taking 8 or 9 hours, it's probably only going to take between, my guess, is about 5.5 hours. I'm just going down, getting any spots I might have missed. We're gonna be using 2 seasonings today. We're gonna be using the La Barbacoa cow whisper, which is really going to be primarily to build our bark, and we're going to be using Cosmos Q's Texas beef as a base layer. So we got it injected. Need this pan over to the side. Get it down. I like to pat it dry just to get some of that liquid off of there. I'm not going to use a binder today. We have enough moisture, as you can see on the surface, for the rubs to stick to. Alright. Now I'm not going to season the fat cap side, really, because it's more so used as a barrier between the heat and the meat. Cooking fat cap down because we're using the big green egg and the heat is coming from the bottom. So again, Cosmo Q's Texas beef. I put about a medium coat on. This is 8 pounds of beef, so it can take it. Do not be afraid to use seasoning. Now, we were doing this Texas style. We could do just coarse kosher salt, coarse black pepper, and it will be delicious. One of the best briskets I've ever made was just coarse salt and coarse salt and fresh cracked black pepper. But for this cook, I'm just doing something a little different. I'm gonna follow it up with the barbacoa cow whisper, and you'll see the difference in the granules on this rub versus that Texas beef, and this is what's gonna build that really good bark. I'm just gonna put a nice, I say medium to heavy coat, because we really want that bark to build up. Make sure you get the sides. Shake this up a second. There we go. Come back, make sure you didn't miss any areas. Always pat it in. As I said, today we're cooking on the big green egg using olive and apple wood, actually. I don't know, I like that combination with beef. That apple just gives a little subtle hint of flavor that some of the harder woods don't impart. And that's it. We're gonna let this sweat maybe about 20 minutes while the big green egg finishes coming up to temperature. I'm excited, y'all. All right, so here we are. You can see we got some of that good olive and apple smoke going. Right now it's white, but it'll clear up probably about another 5 or 10 minutes. But what's important, like I told you before, is not that it smells like charcoal. That's pure olive, pure apple I'm getting out of there. So we're gonna go ahead and get it on. All right, get this big boy situated on here. You ain't got to put it on here no specific way. Just get it on there. And like I said, we're gonna be cooking this at about 350 today. Really just because of time constraints, I actually prefer to cook a little bit lower. But to be honest, I've cooked in hot, fast brisket before. I don't really see a difference between hot and fast and low and slow. So today we're going hot and fast. One thing you do have to do when you're going hot and fast is you have to take the internal temperature a little bit higher. Normally briskets for me are done between 204 and 207, but on hot and fast briskets, generally about 211, 212, 210, somewhere around there is where it reaches the tenderness I want. We're gonna let this go for about maybe 2.5 hours before we check it. I will spritz it. I'm gonna make this spritz up. Actually, I'll bring y'all along, show y'all what I'm gonna be spritzing with. Be right back. As y'all can see, I found my hat. But we've been going on for about an hour and a half, almost right at an hour and a half. So we get ready to spritz. I got my big orange sprayer. Remember, we got the beef consomme and the Cosmos brisket mop in here. So let's get in and see what we got going on. Also, if you look, you can see we've been pegged in right at 350 degrees, which is exactly where I want it. So let's get open. That looks amazing, if I do say so myself. But what I am noticing is that we do have a lot of moisture still built up right here on the sides. So I'm actually not going to spritz yet. Probably give it another 45 minutes and check it, but it's too much. It's enough moisture on the surface where it does not need to be spritzed. So I'll bring y'all back in 45 minutes. So we've been going right at about 350, 350 degrees, right at about 3 hours. We still got a lot of moisture on the surface of the brisket. So I haven't even had to spritz anything, but that just goes to show you that each cook is different. Sometimes you have to spritz, sometimes you won't have to. It all just depends on, it could be the humidity in the air, it could be the meat itself. Maybe it's a little bit more moisture in there than I thought. So we're gonna keep rocking and rolling. If I do spritz, I will show y'all. If not, then I will let y'all see when I get ready to wrap it. I'm probably gonna let it go another hour and a half before I take another look. All right, at that point it'll be on for about 4.5 hours. So I'll let y'all know what's going on. All right, y'all, we've been going about 4 hours now. Let me show you what we got going on. All right, so one thing on this cook is over here on this side, this bark is set a lot better than what's going on here in the middle. This bark is still soft. Down here it's set a little bit. I had to move the brisket a little bit and I rubbed off a decent amount of rub. It was a rookie mistake, but it does happen. So I did have to apply a little bit more rub right there and get it to set in. While the bark is not as set as I want it to be, it is still good enough for me to wrap. So I am going to go ahead and get this wrapped, and I'm going to transfer this over to my pellet grill. Pellet grills cook real dry, so it will help dry out the bark a little bit and help it get it to set. So I will bring y'all back once I get my table set up and wrap. We're going to be wrapping in butcher paper today, and I will show y'all that wrap just a second. See, we're losing a little bit of daylight. It's starting to get late. It's about 8 o'clock a little bit. So we're going to get this wrapped up. As you can see, I got the brisket sitting on 2 sheets of butcher paper. The reason why you put it a little bit down is so that you can fold it over. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull. We're going to do one wrap. Flip. Make sure it's pulled tightly. Fold your paper over. You got a nice little brisket envelope, and then what I like to do is I like to take this piece, this extra right here, fold it underneath. So you have a nice little package. I'm gonna go ahead and get this on my pellet grill, stick a thermometer in it. Be right back. All right, so I got the brisket on the pellet grill. I got my ThermoWorks dot right here, so we're gonna set it up, get my internal temperature probe in. I do not cook to temperature, I cook the tenderness, but it is a guideline to go by, when to start checking for doneness. So what you want to do is you want to put your probe in the thickest part of the flat, which happens to be about right there. Go in, right there, and that's it. We got it set right now for about 209, where I'm going to give it a check, but until then, there's nothing left to do but let it ride. So we are finally done. It took way longer than expected. We lost some sunshine out there, so we had to bring everything inside. For something that was supposed to be a hot and fast cook, this actually took about 6.5 hours, which is a lot longer than it was supposed to, but it's done. We're here. Y'all don't want to hear me talk more. Y'all want to see the results. So with brisket, you need to cut against the grain. As you can see right here, I'm not sure if this picks up on camera, the grain is running this way on the brisket, so that means our slices need to come across that. Now, as I said, you can see some spots right here. This is our bark set in well, but right here, our bark did not set very well at all. So we lost quite a bit of rub right here, but hey, this goes to show you that nothing's perfect. That's the first time that's ever happened to me, but we're not gonna fret over it. Let's go ahead and cut into it. Normally I would come and work my way up, but let's just go ahead and cut right across the middle. Little crispy pieces right here. right here on this edge piece is where, I don't know if any of you have a big green egg, but the place setter that goes inside of it has openings, like 3 openings, and this side got exposed to the heat, so you can tell it's a little crispy, but we can just cut that part away. Let's go ahead and spread this, cut a little bit more. There we go. And look at that. Brisket looks phenomenal. Like that. We did get a little bit of smoke ring right here. Not as much as I wanted. We do got some moisture going. See, the fat did render. So let's go ahead and cut a few slices and see what we got. Since this side did char up a little bit over there, I'm gonna go ahead and cut that part off. That'll be a snack later. And you wanna cut about a number 2 pencil thickness. So for me, anyway, the number 2 pencils I use, that's right here. That's 1 slice. 2. And let's just cut another off. Good measure. You want a nice piece of brisket, so move that out the way. And this is actually still hot, even though we let it rest. You can see the hang. So most of the time when you see somebody cut a brisket, they talk about the hang test. That is what they mean. If you can get those 2 ends to clap together, it means you got good tenderness. You go pull test, see how it pulls. And that is pulling really tender. Good bark set right there. All right, so let me reposition this camera and I will get a little taste test in. All right, so I got the camera repositioned. It is time to taste this brisket that we waited 6.5 hours for. I got a piece here of that flat that I cut. Like I said, it's got plenty of moisture. I'm not sure if you were able to pick that up on camera, but there's really nothing left to do but to try it. Good barbecue always takes a second to hit you. You can really taste that olive and applewood smoke. The bark is good. It's got a fantastic flavor. This is phenomenal. This is why this is the king of barbecue. Now, this cook didn't go exactly as I planned. Cooking for long periods of time on a big green egg leaves the bottom of the meat that you're cooking exposed to that temperature for a long time, even when you have that place setter in place. So forgive me, this brisket is so good. Even when you have the place setter in place, so sometimes the bottom of it can get a little crispy, or the sides can get a little crispy, as you saw. So that's why you really want to leave that fat cap on the bottom of that brisket to protect the meat. Otherwise, that would have been a lot of meat we would have lost had I cut that fat cap off. But as I said, this is phenomenal. Another piece. This is just in time for Labor Day. So thanks everybody for stopping. Thanks everybody for stopping by. If you like what you see, consider subscribing. Always leave me a thumbs up. It helps with the YouTube algorithms. I know I took a little break, but we are going to keep trying to release videos every 2 weeks. So with that being said, everybody enjoy your Labor Day. I will see you in 2 weeks.